What is up, Squared Nation? My name is Adrian and welcome back to No Counters, No Combos. Today we're doing something that we haven't done in quite a little bit here on the channel. We're talking some tech. Now, normally I'd be doing a deck profile for something that I'd be attempting to play at locals this weekend, but these next 2 weekends I'm actually not going to be attending locals. This weekend is Halloween, so I'm going to be spending time with my family. We're going to go some trick-or-treating, get some candy, stuff like that. And then the weekend after that is my son's 4th birthday. So I'm going to be pretty busy here in the No Counters, No Combos household, but we're very excited for the upcoming events that we're having as far as, you know, what's going on the local scene for Dragon Ball Super and what's going on here at home. So instead of having a deck profile out today, I wanted to talk a little bit of tech options or tech cards that I don't think are getting enough attention that came to us in set 11. So what we're going to be talking about today is Son Goku Forever in Our Memories. It's the 3-drop or the 3 restricted yellow unison that we got in set 11. Obviously, you know, the artwork is fantastic for those of you who are fans of the GT anime, even though it's not, you know, canonical or, you know, directly from Toriyama himself. I know there is a huge GT fan base. I am one of those people who really enjoyed GT. So Forever in Our Memories, just that last scene of, you know, Goku flying away on Shenron is just very memorable to me. And, you know, I couldn't be happier with the art that they chose to represent this unison. But for looking at the card as a whole, it's a very interesting card. It's not technically the first of its kind, but it's definitely the first of its kind in unison form. So if we're looking at the card, it does have a permanent skill where it says, if your leader card is yellow, all of your battle cards and your opponent's battle cards with original energy cost of 5 or less have their skills negated, and all of your battle cards with an energy cost of 1 get plus 5,000 power. So if you're looking at face value, it includes your battle cards and your opponent's battle cards that cost 5 or less. Their skills are negated. And then your 1-drop skill-less cards would gain plus 5,000 power. So, you know, particularly speaking, this card is going to be seeing a lot of play in any type of skill-less deck, whether it's the new Gohan leader, which I'm very fond of, or the OG skill-less Kid Goku from set, I want to say set 6 that was. So there's going to be a lot of, I think there's going to be a lot of potential for this card. It just depends on how we as the player base decide to use it. So there's a couple of things to dissect here as we're looking at the card. It does have a specified cost of 3 yellow. It's a 15k power. It doesn't have any uptick markers, so you can uptick for 0. Activate main, play up to 2 yellow skill-less battle cards with energy cost of 1 from your drop area, which is very good for skill-less strategy. And then it has a -2 activate main. If your leader card is yellow, your opponent can only attack with battle cards once during their next turn. So there's no uptick skill, so you're not really going to be able to add markers to it unless we get more unison support in later sets. And it does have that nifty -2 pseudo nimbus effect to where if your opponent is a go wide strategy, you can limit them from attacking with their battle cards. They can only attack with 1 battle card. It doesn't shut off their leader and it doesn't shut off unison swings, but if they like to go wide, like if you're playing against Vegex, you know, something like that, they won't be able to swing with your entire board. And then yellow obviously has Nimbus and Time Magic and other stuff like that. But its +0 is what I find the most interesting. You get to play 2 yellow skill-less battle cards with energy cost of 1 from your drop area. And that completely goes hand in hand with the permanent skill of giving all of your 1-drops plus 5k. So you're going to be swinging with weenies pretty much all the time. That's what these new skill-less strategies have kind of, you know, shaped into, especially the Gohan Icarus. What I find most interesting about this unison card, though, however, is the permanent skill of negating your opponent's cards. Now, there are definitely some talks in the community. I've had multiple conversations about how the interactions work and stuff like that, just to make sure, because I'm going to heavily be playing this specific deck / archetype, and I want to make sure that I don't give my opponent incorrect rulings, but I also know how to, you know, react to every situation that I found myself in. So as far as the card is concerned, its permanent constantly checks battle cards on the board that are 5 or less. So anything that's currently in play or anything that would come into play would check that permanent of its skills being negated. So what does that mean? For those of you who don't already know or haven't been following, ruling discussions in the community discussion groups, basically what this unison prevents you from doing is activating skills that are already on board, i.e., blocker, double strike, critical, dual attack, stuff like that. They're completely blank. And then also on play autos. So for example, if you have a battle card that gets an auto when it enters play, if this unison is on board and the battle card you're attempting to play is 5 or less, it will not get its enter battle auto skills. Why? Because Goku's unison is a permanent, so it's constantly checking, and the auto only activates on the card once it's successfully played. So the best way I can explain it is cards are not considered battle cards until they're in the battle area. Dragon Ball is a very interesting game to where it comes to being all of your cards have a specific they have a specific explanation, and depending on what area they're in. So if they're in your hand, they're just cards. If they're in the energy area, then they're energy. If they're in the battle area, then they're battle cards. If they're in the combo area, then they're just being used as combo. They're not battle cards. So any autos that would activate when cards are used in a combo, for example, a super combo that, if you're at 4 or less, you can draw 2 cards, put one at the bottom of your deck and draw 2 cards. Those autos activate 100% because their autos trigger in the combo area. They don't trigger in the battle area. So even if you have a battle card that has a combo skill, if you use it to combo, once it switches from the battle area to the combo area, the auto now actually kicks in. So that's something very important to note. With that also being said, once a card is being attempted to come into the board as a battle card, if it's 5 or less, its skills are going to be negated unless it has a permanent that states these skills cannot be negated at any areas. If you're looking at the Dark Broly archetype, a lot of their 1-drop 30Ks have that permanent that says the skills cannot be negated in any area. So that permanent would override the permanent of the unison negating skills 5 or less in the battle area. There's a couple tricky little different things and wordings that you guys have to pay attention to, but for the most part, there are a lot of good members in the community who are up to date with their rulings. Darwin specifically, shout out to you. He's helped me a lot, and my play group as well. They've always recommended me going to Darwin and asking him questions and stuff like that. And I have seen other threads in the community. This is definitely being brought up in conversation. So battle cards being played, their autos do not activate. Now, counter skills that play battle cards will activate because counter skills activate in the hand. So, perfect example, the new counterplays, Charismatic Villain Frieza, God Stealing Technique Trunks, the Yamcha, and Prideful Transformation. Their counterplay skills will activate because they activate in hand. So they'll be able to do their counter skills. However, for Charismatic Villain specifically, his counterplay is to play the card, and you can play it for free if you control a green unison, and then his auto would trigger destroying a card that costs up to 7 or whatever the destruction effect is on Charismatic Villain. So you would get the counterplay timing, but once the card is played successfully in the battle area, because he's 5 or less, his auto will not trigger. So even though you're playing it in counter window 1, the auto still activates as a battle card that's on the board. So the Forever in Our Memories Unison's permanent will override that on-play auto skill. So these are just a couple things you have to pay attention to. Now, Prideful Transformation is another good example because Prideful Transformation is a 14k blocker that comes in as a counterplay, and its effect of resting a card is part of the counterplay skill. So if you're looking at the text on Prideful Transformation, it doesn't have an auto. It triggers, everything triggers in counterplay timing. So when your opponent attempts to play a battle card, you counterplay it by resting it, and then you play the Vegeta for free. So that type of effect will still resolve because it's not an on-play auto from a battle card. It's being played from the hand as a counterplay, and then it's resolving as coming into play. Now, when Vegeta comes into play, unfortunately, it does lose its blocker keyword being a battle card. So there's a couple of things you got to look at, you know, especially with counterplay cards that have on-play autos. You know, Topo, Pride and Justice Topo is a big one. I think it's Pride and Justice Topo. Topo is a big one. For 2 red, you can use it as a counterplay or as a counter attack, and then you play the card. The auto on Topo is once he's played as a battle card, auto, you can discard 1 card from your hand. If you do, if your opponent makes any additional attacks, they have to discard cards. That auto will not resolve because it's not part of the counterplay timing. It's part of the onboard resolution for the auto. So I know it's very tricky. It's one of the, probably one of the first, if not the first card in our game that has this type of skill. Essentially, if you're coming from other games, it's like a skill drain. But you have to also remember that it's only negating battle cards that are 5 or less. So anything that's above 5, you know, whether it's like a Nova Realm that's for 6 or something like that, you know, obviously you're going to be able to get free reign on it. And just also keep in mind that your cards are skillless when they're in the battle area. So if you attempt to attack with one of your skillless cards and you try to give it double strike with like a Champa or Supreme Kai, you wouldn't be able to because of the permanent constantly checking. So, you know, when you combo with, you know, Further Instruction Champa, it gives the battle card double strike for the duration of the battle. But because you're giving it a skill, it kind of cancels itself out. You're only going to get the 10k power on it. So you have to be careful with stuff like that. And you also have to be careful with their skill-less cards. So, you know, if you're playing a skill-less strategy, you're okay because most of like the 4-star ball interacts with skillless cards, so you don't have to worry about that. But anything that's 5 or less is going to be considered a skillless card. So if you are playing this strategy yourself and you want to take advantage of it, you can play cards that are cost of 5 that you can get out and treat them as skillless cards. So it might be something interesting to experiment with in the future. But for archetype specific reasons, Gohan, Icarus, they have all of their 1-drops, and then their bigger guys are like 6-drops. Like the new draft box is a 6 cost. The Gohan and Higher Dragon Flying High that we got in set 11 are 6 costs. So they actually get under the Unison's permanent. But if you guys come across, you know, playing against an opponent who is playing this Unison, just keep in mind, it's kind of wonky, but anything that you attempt to play as a battle card that's 5 or less will not trigger any on-play autos, and all keyword skills will be negated. So time agents will still go through because they activate once they're milled. For example, like, you know, Vegeta will still, like Trunks, Vegeta, and Supreme Kai will still come into play. But Trunks will not be able to take a life or be a blocker. Vegeta will not have that, you know, 2 energy warp a card that's 3 or less. Supreme Kai will still activate because the auto triggers in the combo area. So there's just a couple of things you guys got to look for. Just make sure you pay attention to the wording. It's specifically targeting battle cards that are 5 or less. The reason I wanted to talk about this card specifically as a tech talk is because, like I said, it's not getting a lot of attention, or it's not getting as much attention as I'd like it to. But it's very interesting because it doesn't necessarily have to be individualized in that skillless strategy. You can jam 1 or 2 copies of this in your sideboard if you're playing yellow, if you really want to stop your opponent, because it doesn't specify that it has to be played with a Gohan leader. It's just if your leader is yellow. So if you're playing a more defensive yellow strategy where you can benefit from an onboard Nimbus, so to speak, it might be something that would be experimented with as far as sideboard is concerned. But I just wanted to get my thoughts out there. This is hands down my favorite card from set 11. I love the artwork. I'm glad I was able to get foils of this card in my boxes, and I just wanted to kind of shed some light on it because I know it's been talked about, but I don't think it's been talked about as much as it probably should be. So if you guys ever come across the situation, just make sure you read the cards and you understand exactly what's a battle card and what's a combo card and what's not, because that will help you 100% in playing around this card. So let me know what you guys think about this card in the comment section down below. If you guys want to see more tech talks, let me know also. There's a lot of cards in set 11 that we could talk about. It's just obviously, maintaining that 3 times a week upload schedule. The battle chambers, deck profiles, and podcasts do take precedent over that, but maybe we could shuffle some things around here and there so we can get more of our tech talk conversations out for you guys. Also, if there's any type of content that you're not getting from No Counters, No Combos, let me know in the comment section down below as well, or you can contact us on Facebook or email us. I want to make sure that we're putting out content that you guys have a desire to watch, but also, not that you require it, but you prefer the type of content as opposed to just, deck profiles and gameplay videos and stuff like that. So if there's anything specifically that you guys are looking for, let me know. Like I said, I'm always here to try to help, grow the community and answer questions if anybody has, to the best of my knowledge. If I don't have the answer for you, I definitely can get the answer for you by just doing a little bit of research. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for all the support. It's really been fun coming back to the Dragon Ball Super card game and, becoming a member of the community again. I really did miss this, and I'm having a lot of fun creating content for you guys again, and we really appreciate all the support. So don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.